Hello, hello, hello. How y'all
Hello.
out there? So, this is going to be a brand new show on the Blast Media Network, and I'm going to introduce you guys to Therapist Tori. Okay. Um, I've been knowing, well, yeah, I guess I can say I've been knowing you for a while, even though I haven't seen you in some years, but welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Um, and we're just going to start off first by, telling us, tell people just a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get into being a therapist? Stuff like that.
Yes, well, hello. Yes, we have been knowing each other for a long time and haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to be here. My name is Victoria Lynn Dorsey Drury. It's a long name, but
Long
you can
name.
just call me Tori. But yeah, originally I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And for those of you that know about Tulsa, they used to call it Black Wall Street. So yeah, born and raised there, and then my family moved to upstate New York. So we lived in upstate New York for a few years, and then relocated to Texas. So I just recently moved to Katy, Texas, which is right near Houston. So a little bit about me. So like most people, I come from a dysfunctional family, a great family, but dysfunctional. So I grew up, asking why a lot of times because I didn't really understand, some of the things that was going on in my family and my parents' relationship. So and I knew to some degree that I wanted to work in the helping profession. So um, that's kind of what got me started on the path of psychology and counseling and therapy. I went to the University of Texas, and I wasn't quite sure at that point that I actually wanted to be a therapist. But I started, taking psychology courses, did some internships, and I knew at that point that I didn't want to work in like a facility working with like severe diagnoses, but um, definitely wanted to help people live better lives and actually learn skills to have a better life, communicate better, things of that nature. So I guess in as far as my career path, I started working. I worked in West Austin at a counseling center there. And that was after kind of leaving the state. And so from there, I started working with what used to be called the Texas Youth Commission,
Okay.
and which changed to TJJD, Texas Juvenile Justice Department. So I actually worked with juvenile boys age 13 to 19 with sexual behavior issues, kids that had been accused of being inappropriately, sexual with either someone in their family or even someone close to the family.
Mm-hmm.
That was really interesting. I did that work for about 6 years, worked for the state, and then I ended up um, creating a what do you call it? A program for Travis County juvenile probation. Uh,
Okay.
so all the while, kind of building my private practice, and so that's what I'm still doing now. So
So you have your own private practice.
yeah, I'm in private practice in Austin, Texas, and so I see clients in person like 3 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 days a week I see clients virtually. So,
Okay.
uh,
So,
and
what is your specialty?
well, I would say my specialty is working with couples. I know there are some therapists that don't necessarily uh, like to work with couples, but I do a lot of couples therapy, and a lot of individual therapy, working with clients with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. So that's the primary thing that I do as far as private practice.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
the name of your show is called Living the Abundant Life. How did you come up with
hmm
that title?
Well, so my background, I was definitely raised in the church, and now I have clients that are not religious at all. Some are not religious or spiritual, but growing up in the church, I realized that a lot of people could be a certain way in church, but not necessarily um, apply those principles outside of church. So it's one way at church, and then it was like different at home. Um, so living the abundant life, it's like is basically being able to apply these things that from a psychological or spiritual standpoint, being able to have that practical application to your life, you know, to make that connection.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. 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 So, so you mentioned that your that you also deal with depression and stuff like that. Also,
Mhm.
um, um, are you noticing that it's more depression diagnosis now than
Mhm.
probably about 15, 20 years ago?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a dramatic difference with COVID. Not to say that people weren't suffering from depression and anxiety prior to that, but I mean, I think COVID, starting in 2020, like for a lot of people, really pushed people over the edge. I mean, you saw a lot more domestic violence, um, and people just generally unhappy. I mean, before there was more of a separation from work and home, and so then when you have the complications of what's going on with the school district and how the school was handling things, and kids having to do school at home and people having to do work from home. Now, for some people, they loved it; it was great, and then other people, it wasn't so great. So I think in the last couple of years, I mean, just looking from the standpoint of my private practice, yeah, I saw a lot more um, violence, depression, and anxiety. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Okay. So is the depression probably due to some form of like post traumatic stress due to COVID, due to everything that, being, isolated, being around basically the same people, for days, weeks, months at a time,
mhm,
able to go out, that is to me, that's a form of, PTSD, and it
mhm.
manifests itself probably as a form of depression also. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would say there's some trauma associated with that. I mean, let's be real. A lot of people lost their life, you know, and I mean, at first, when all this first started out, like you didn't know anybody, really that had COVID. So when all this started between January and March, people were like, oh, is this some kind of, is this fake? Is this,
Yeah.
is this real? Is there some type of, political agenda here? Like, what's going on? But then as time went on, more and more people were affected, more and more people lost their life. People didn't know. I mean, you really didn't know what to expect, you know. You didn't know if and when you were exposed to it, so there was a lot of fear, and a lot of lives lost. I mean, one of my interns, I would say less than 6 months ago, lost her life to COVID, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's literally like one day you're here and the next day you're gone. And so PTSD, also dealing with grief, I mean, it's been a huge impact. But yeah, I would definitely say people have been affected by trauma and death.
Yeah, I know a few people that have actually both died and that have family members that have like passed from it. And
Mhm.
and when I used to hear on TV or wherever else, oh, it's fake, oh, it's not real, oh, I'm sitting here like, how exactly can y'all justify saying that something isn't real and telling people what not to do to
Mhm.
to protect themselves from it? I mean, especially when, like I said, someone personally or someone's family member personally that has passed, and they're still treating it like it's so trivial. And I just never can wrap my head around that. Other than it is something just to it's a in my opinion it's a control tactic just to see how many people are listening to them say that, and when they listen to it, they can control them. So that's about what I'm thinking about that. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like many things, I mean, people have been kind of in denial, and sometimes you feel like if I don't look at it, then it's not there. Or
Hmm.
if I don't see it, then maybe it'll go away.
Yeah,
But the reality is, it's been COVID has been one of those things that's here to stay, unfortunately.
yeah,
And so we're, these last couple of years trying to figure out how to deal with it and how to, incorporate that as part of your life,
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, me and myself, my two kids, my mom, we all had it back in November of 20 when it first, popped out. We all had it, and
mhm,
and it was nothing to joke around with. I mean,
mhm.
it's not something that you want anyone to have. Believe me.
Right, right.
So yeah. So this is your show. This is your show. So I'm gonna flip this thing around now. And besides
Uh-huh.
me asking you the questions, I'm gonna go ahead and let you take over your show. I want to see
Okay.
what Miss Tori is going to be like on her show. So everyone, y'all are in for a treat because I'm turning the control over to Miss Therapist Tori right now.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, today I just wanted to do, sort of a brief introduction and kind of talk about what it's like, to go to therapy. I mean, I've been to therapy myself. So I've been on the opposite side of the couch. I haven't always just been the therapist asking questions, but I know there is a lot of people, I would say, early in my career, I would definitely say there's a lot of African Americans who, um, you know, don't go to therapy or afraid to go to therapy, or, some people like, well, if you go to therapy, that means you're crazy. And it doesn't mean any of that. It's like, I think it even says in the word, in the multitude of counselors, there is safety, so going to counseling and getting therapy, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it or insane or, nothing wrong with it. It's a very healthy thing to do. Hello to all these people saying hello to me. So, but one thing is changing, especially as it relates to the African American community. More people are going to therapy and seeking therapy, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So there are some misconceptions about what therapy is, and I tell people all the time, I don't have any pixie dust, no angel dust, nothing magical, it's not like you go to therapy and, Iyanla fixed my life, nothing is fixed instantaneously. So sometimes that is a misconception. And, I talk to clients who think that, oh, because I'm going to therapy, my problems go away. And that's not necessarily true. Now, what I hope to bring about is a different perception and a different way of looking at things. Sometimes the way that we see things, sometimes we don't see things clearly. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us, but it means that, sometimes it's like the concept of rose-colored glasses. I mean, if you flip that around and you're looking through dirty lenses, then then that's going to have an impact. That's going to affect your perception. So, talking to someone, who has a more objective point of view of you and your life is definitely going to be able to give you a different perception than, they'll be able to see things that you don't necessarily see, or even present things or facilitate things in such a way that will help you see things differently. And, my thing is in my practice is actually giving people tools so that even outside of therapy, when you cross the threshold and go back to your normal life, you want to have tools, you want to be able to take something away that will continually help you to see things differently. I mean, it's just like learning, communication tools.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have that practical application to your life. So that's what I try to bring about and facilitate for people. Like, I'm not a fixer, but I'm hoping, that in this process, you learn something that you can actually apply to your life every single day, not just in a moment, not just when there's a problem, but, something that you use on a day-to-day basis. So.
Gotcha. Well, we have our first question for you here. I'm going to put it up on the screen.
Okay.
First question: at what point should someone consider therapy?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would say, if something has been a running theme or something continues to come up month after month or week after week or year after year, and you don't feel like you've gained any traction, you don't feel like that anything has changed, you don't feel like your perception has changed, then I would say that's a good time to seek therapy. I mean, but to be honest with you, it's not always based on whether there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had clients for a number of years. Now, they don't stay in therapy all that time. They may come for a month or two to talk about something specific, or maybe there's something going on at work, or maybe they want, some input or advice about a particular thing and at work or in their relationship. So they may go to therapy for a few weeks or a few months and then stop. you know, because whatever it was at that particular time that caused them to come to therapy, that has been resolved. So, and sometimes people just want to have somebody to talk to. So
Yeah.
sometimes they just want to, you know, want to have that person to bounce ideas or thoughts off of, and they don't want to talk to somebody in their family. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to talk to their friends. They want someone, you know, who's totally separate and outside of, you know, their normal everyday life. So
Yeah.
either one of those things, whether, you know, you just want some consistency with having input, or there's a specific issue, problem, or theme that continues to come up, uh, then that's a good time to go to therapy.
It has been my experience also that people that have the best outcome with therapy are those that choose to go themselves. They're not forced to go. They're not, you know, court appointed to go. They're not anything, because they need to want to have the help. They need to
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, is something that they need to work through. Um, but some people still do not think that it is, you know, that they have the problem. So they don't want to, or they're being forced to by their spouse to go, or they're being forced, you know, forced to by their job or something to go to some sort of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, do those that are forced to actually go actually get anything out of it, or do they just feel, oh, I just have to go here just to, you know?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. Yeah, I think there are times, even, you know, if you're forced to go to therapy, that you can get something out of it, especially if they make a good connection with the therapist, you
Mhm.
know. Now, you're right. So there's two sides to the same coin. So yeah, I believe that you can get something out of therapy, even if you're being forced to. But in some cases, there is a lot of resistance, you know, when someone is just kind of like, and here lately, I've seen a lot of people who come to therapy who really just want an animal. I forgot what you call it, when you
Oh,
an emotional support
yeah,
animal. They want a letter because they get some kind of discount with
yeah.
their rental property or whatever.
Mhm.
That's a little frustrating, because it's like, listen, that's
You're
not.
wasting your time then, because that you're not really there for any therapeutic help. You're just there just to get a note, basically.
Right.
You know, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
just find that pretty frustrating.
And there is EAP, Employee Assistance Program,
Mhm.
where now sometimes it's the client who's seeking therapy, and sometimes the job asks you to go to therapy, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so, and they're paying for it, but they've said, well, you know, we think that you need to try this because, you know, it seems like there's some stuff going on that you need to deal with. So so I would say both situations happen where, yeah, there sometimes people can get something out of it, and, you know, and especially if it's something that seems totally different than what they thought it was going to be, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm. So, how difficult is it some of the time for you to get to the root cause of the problem, just because they're too embarrassed to like say it, or they may not even think that the root cause of the problem is the actual problem, so they just refuse to say it or either admit it?
Well, you know, when there's like deep issues of trust, you
Mhm.
know, like that doesn't just apply personally, you know, or relationship wise. I mean, it applies to almost all relationships in your life, at
Mhm.
work, and even with the therapist, you know. I mean, there's some people that come to therapy, and I realize that there are some emotional barriers there because the person doesn't trust people, you know, and, you know, and will even, they'll tell me that, like, I don't trust people, you know. And so I find myself having to, kind of jump these hurdles with people, so that we can establish a foundation of trust, because I let people know, like, listen, I'm not here to judge you, you know, like that is not my job to judge you, to judge your life or anything that you do. Everything that we talk about is confidential. I can't share it with anybody, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So, you know, the creating a safe space is very, very important, you know.
Yeah.
And so in those moments I can be very candid, and I, kind of take off the therapist jargon so they understand I'm a real person, and we're just here to talk, you know,
Okay.
and I'm just here to help you deal with whatever you need help with. And judgment is out the window. So
So before we get to the blast artist of the week, I have a question. I want
okay.
to know if it was ever a time where one of the people who you were counseling got kind of weird, as in from okay, you're like counseling, I'm talking, but I'm seeing you almost every week, and so
Hmm.
I'm thinking that it's a little bit more than just a counselor,
Hmm.
kind of relationship.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, that has happened, and sometimes as a therapist, that is something that you have to deal with, and it's a boundary, just like any other boundary, you
Hmm.
know. And when someone is attempting to violate that boundary, again, I don't make them feel bad about it,
Yeah.
but I do clarify, like, I'm your therapist. I'm
Okay.
just your therapist, you know. So, if I were to cross the line with you, that would completely inhibit the work that we're trying to do,
Hmm.
you know. And, more importantly, if I cross that line, then you're not going to trust me,
Yeah.
you know. So when that happens, is just, again, clarifying those boundaries. And, you know, so in the cases that I've dealt with, people have been able to, because at first I think people feel a little bit embarrassed, you know, maybe even feel a little bit rejected, but it's like, I'm just clarifying a boundary. I cannot cross that line with you,
Hmm.
because ethically I've taken an oath to not harm my clients, you know. And even though someone else may be being inappropriate, that doesn't give me room to be inappropriate. I still
Yeah.
have to keep that boundary there.
Okay. Um, have they been receptive to that, or is it something that is still difficult in their mind some of the time to wrap their head around, and you have to like constantly remind them that, hey, this is not what's happening, or if it gets worse, do you have to refer them probably to another therapist or
Mhm.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, if a client doesn't listen, or doesn't respect those boundaries, yeah, then the best thing to do professionally is to refer them to a different therapist.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I
we
never really had that situation so far,
Mhm.
thankfully,
Well,
but
that is,
yeah, but if that were to happen, I would have to refer them out.
yeah. Well, that is good. That is great.
Mhm.
Well, I think we reached the halfway mark. How do you feel so far?
I feel good.
All right. See, all we doing is just talking. We just starting it up. Okay. So,
No, that feels good.
yeah. So we are going to go ahead and bring on the blast artist of the week. This is the True Composure Band, and this is their song "Politics."
administration, media, Hollywood, lots of protests do no good. How can we make a choice if common men don't have a voice? Leaders fly, pilots fly, babies die, parents crying, settling for deception. War is on and misconception. Politics can blind us, but poverty reminds us we must reap what we've sown. The Holy Bible tells us so, but will we choose the right one? Election time is never fun. Politics, government, administration, subjugation, media, Hollywood, lots of protests do no good. How can we make a choice if common men don't have a voice? Leaders fly, pilots fly, babies die, parents crying. We are the masses, yet fear the least, and we only pray for peace. Although we vote, we cannot fix deceptions we know as politics. Politics, government, administration, subjugation, media, Hollywood, lots of protests do no good. How can we make a choice if common men don't have a voice? Leaders fly, pilots fly, babies die, parents crying. Government, administration, subjugation, media, Hollywood, lots of protests do no good. How can we make a choice if common men don't have a voice? Leaders fly, pilots fly, babies die, parents crying. Politics, government, administration, subjugation, media, Hollywood, lots of protests do no good. How can we make a choice if common men don't have a voice? Leaders fly, pilots fly, babies die, parents crying.
That is the True Composure Band with our man Lamar White. We interviewed Lamar White about 4 months ago. He was the older gentleman that was on the guitar, and the stories that he have to tell, because he has been practically doing music since like 1950 something. So
Wow.
he has stories galore about being on the road with all of these people and everything. But if you are an artist, an independent artist, if you are a comedian or anyone that is, trying to get their stuff out and is looking for a family, not just someone that, has a like platform and everything for your music and like comedy, but if you really want a family, someone that is determined to help you get your stuff out there through all of the avenues, please go to blastmusic247.com. Sign up as a new artist. It's totally free for you guys. Take advantage of it. We are literally trying to change the industry one artist at a time. So get in where you fit in. Okay, Miss Tori. What else you got? Second half. We're gonna bring this on. Oh, hold on. We got a question again.
Okay.
Can you talk about how we can all practice mental self-care, especially during times like these? And I'm pretty sure that he is referring to, the violence that just happened at the school in Uvalde a couple of days ago. What can we all do to protect ourselves and our own mental health
Well, yeah, I mean, that's extremely important in these times where people are overworked and stressed and, but yeah, self-care is very, very important. Now I probably can't name all the things that people can do in terms of mental health, but one of the things that I've started doing in recent years is meditation. And I can say, when I first started, I was like, I don't know if this is going to help. I don't know if it's going to work, but it does. It really does. Now, and one of the, I know there's a lot of apps and stuff out there that people can use. But one that I use quite a bit is the Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra. There's an app that you can download to your phone, which is called, in the Google Play Store, I think it's 21-day meditation experience. And for the most part, I guess the meditations are like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I think some are like maybe 18 or 19 minutes. Mm-hmm. But just taking, a moment or a few minutes out of your day to meditate, probably the best time to do it is probably first thing in the morning. Because, for a lot of us, the first thing we do in the morning is grab our cell phone, Mm-hmm. And that is really not the healthiest thing to do. We grab our cell phone, we're looking at text messages, looking at social media. And sometimes it's just, time out for all that and do some meditation. And with the meditations that are on that particular app, there's journal questions that go along with it, so, we all need like a point of reflection. So meditation, working out, now I know working out, sometimes our schedule gets altered and we don't think that we have time for it. I've made excuses, to not work out, but working out is a very important part of mental health. It ain't necessarily about, losing weight or anything like that, but just getting your body to move, getting those endorphins flowing is really helpful. So yeah, meditation, working out, journaling. Now, my biggest self-care is taking a vacation. Starting in 2014, I realized that I was really overworked and really stressed. And I made a promise to myself that I would take 2 vacations a year. And for me, because I love to travel, it gives me something to look forward to. So, self-care can be a lot of things, but, I would say making sure that it's something that you look forward to doing, whether it's taking a trip or, I don't know, going shopping. I don't know. I mean, we don't want to get into the negative part of that, but, there's a lot of things that apply to self-care. So making sure that you're doing that on a regular basis is very, very important. I know they have some places where you can go like float, it's like a Epsom salt float.
Okay.
And, people kind of incorporate that with meditation,
Mm-hmm.
Going for a spa treatment, all those things are related to self-care. So
it's basically anything that will help you decompress, get your mind, right, and just get away from everything, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
that's the biggest problem, the rat gets on the wheel in our head and we just spinning, Yeah. And so we got to get out of that because that creates unnecessary stress.
So I've never tried meditation because I'm not exactly sure what it is. Do you just sit and think about one thing, or do you try to clear your mind and think about nothing?
The latter. You try to think about nothing. Like you try to sweep your mind clear. Like you're not you know, because now I will say it takes practice. So I wouldn't say like, you know, for most people right now could just snap and just think about nothing. Like it takes practice because a lot of times when we're sitting and being quiet, you know, then you're thinking about the next thing that you're supposed to be doing. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, that's not the idea. The idea is to think about nothing at all. Nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
So
I can see how that could be difficult because mine never shuts off. I'm thinking about something happening right after this one. I'm thinking about something else. Just to sit back and not think about anything will have to take a whole lot of practice for me to do. Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
It does take practice, but
yeah.
but it's worth it. It really is worth it.
All right. We have another question.
Okay.
What is your position on CBD THC to treat anxiety?
Oh. Well, that's a good question. You know, again, I would say it's not my position to judge. I mean, if somebody feels like that is something that helps them relax, that's fine. I mean, I know for some people, marijuana is actually prescribed, you know, so, you know, now I'm not a big pusher of medication, but I would say if you feel like you need medication, then by all means, you know, see your physician and, you know, get some medication if that's something that you feel like you need. But I know, you know, anything can be excessive. You know, I mean, I'm not against people smoking weed, but even that is something that can be excessive. You know, one of the things my mom used to tell me, too much of anything is a bad thing, you know? So it's like, you know, if you're doing something that interferes with you functioning and being a functional part of life and your family, like if you're doing something that interferes with that, then you already know it's not good. You know, if you're doing that and you're tired and sleepy all the time, and then you know that's probably not something you should be doing, you know. Now, I have had clients be concerned about telling me that they smoke weed, and it's like, listen, I'm not the weed police. you know, I'm not encouraging it, but you know, I mean, we'll have to address it if it's something that is completely out of balance.
Yeah. I know some people that literally cannot function without weed. And when they're not smoking, they're like a totally different person than, you know, the person who they are when they're on weed. Like they're mellow out and cool and crazy on it. But then when they start smoking it, they like turn into somebody who, I'm like, okay, it's supposed to be the opposite, man. I'm like, okay. I was actually picking up my sons from like football practice last week now. So I'm sitting outside the school, okay? I'm seeing them practice. And this car passed by me literally. And they're coming there to pick up their child too. And they're in the car and I'm in my car. And I could have sworn it smelled like a Cheech and Chong movie or whatever. All I smelled. I'm like, how can y'all have that much weed in the car and you just driving normally and you come to pick up the child and the child is like probably used to it too because you can't help it if you want to get in that car, you're going to get a contact. So they probably stay high too. So I don't even know. I don't really judge anyone from you know, for like doing it unless, you know, they really, really, really cannot function and they take it to a level that's almost, you know, like crackish, you know, where they just gotta have it, and if they don't get it, they gotta steal something for it and do all other stuff. I'm like, dude, it's weed. You have to do that for, you know. Then, but yeah. So
yeah, sometimes people feel like they feel like they need it, you know, and I don't want to be on any substance that I feel like I just gotta have it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just, I feel like I don't feel like that's healthy. If I
yeah.
feel like I just have to have this in order to function. But
Gotcha.
mhm.
So, Danny, I don't think that, yeah, man, Gucci's Twinkies are not prescribed by anyone. That is 100% true. No one wants those Twinkies or M&M, whatever else he be eating on the show. No one wants any of that. So, so with your practice, are you planning on, taking on any other type of, weird specialties? And you know what I mean by the weird specialties. Uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah, the like paraphilias and like all of those type things where sex addiction and all of that stuff there.
Well, I guess I will talk about a little bit. Now, I am, pretty excited about some upcoming projects that are kind of in the making. So I really want to get into doing some workshops, and I'll, be talking about that at a later time. But workshops for couples, whether you're married or not married. Um, and also, we'll probably be doing some collaboration. My brother is actually a trainer, and he trains professional athletes. But we've been talking about, kind of combining that with psychotherapy. So now, how exactly we're gonna do it, I don't know yet, but but I am excited about kind of exploring some other ways to do therapy, um, and not it just being, sitting across from someone just doing talk therapy.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
so yeah, I mean, just like I was talking about before, giving, practical tools, talking about practical tools when it comes to communication, because that's going to help you professionally or in your personal life, you know.
Mhm.
So it's not just a one-track thing. So, but yeah, so I don't think that's weird, but
Yeah, no, because really, sports therapy is like actually, sort of a new sort of therapy that is like out now. I didn't hear anything about sports therapy, 15, 20 years ago. But
hmm
now, they are actually sports psychologists to like help athletes work through whatever is going on, on the field or the court or whatever mind block that they have. And
hmm
that is something there that's, kind of amazing to me that it just, came about, because you never think, people that are out there playing and supposed to be having fun, all of the pressure and the anxiety
hmm
to be a star. Oh, they're making this much money. Oh, they're doing that. And they get the mental block, and they can't perform. Uh,
hmm
uh, there's a like basketball player now, Ben Simmons for the Nets. Last year, he would not shoot. I mean, he would have a wide open layup and he would pass the ball. This is a 6'10" guy. All he has to do is just basically dunk the ball, but he
Right.
could not shoot the ball. And that has carried over to this year, where he hasn't even played at all this year
Mhm.
because he has some block in his mind and he cannot get like past it, that no, I just cannot shoot. And he doesn't shoot, even though he's making, $15 million a year. And,
Mhm.
it is kind of strange. Okay, got another question. Danny is on a
Okay.
roll here. What are some things to consider when looking for a therapist?
Well, I would say if you're talking to a therapist that doesn't go to therapy, find you another therapist.
Never heard that one. That's a good one there.
Yeah. I mean, you want to, and I know that may feel like a strange question to ask a therapist, but I think it's a good question. Do you yourself go to therapy? Because you want to make sure that you're talking to somebody that's processing and dealing with their own stuff, because if not, you can very easily, transfer, what they call counter transferences where, the therapist can, project onto the client. So, sometimes that can be a two-way street. So I think that's a good question to ask. I think another question could be, what modality, what type of therapy does a therapist do? Like, for instance, I would say I specialize in CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, family systems, and also solution focus. So now, I know a client may not know about these different modalities, but some clients do. And, some clients prefer a certain modality. So, I would say that's a good question to ask. What modalities does a therapist use? How long have they been doing therapy? What is their experience?
Okay.
So,
as a therapist, how do you not, how do I put this? How do you, when you're listening to so many people and they're, telling you so much stuff, and some of it is, really bad, and some of it is grief, some of it is, all this, how do you not let that affect you? What do you do to say, okay, I am hearing all of this stuff, but I'm compartmentalizing it, knowing that it's just work. It's not something that I'm taking home and I'm thinking about constantly.
Well, to be honest with you, that is something that I really had to deal with early in my career, because I was doing that. I was listening to people and their stories, and I was taking, they didn't know it, but I was taking them home with me at night.
Yeah.
And I was spending all night long trying to figure out how I was going to help them. What was the next thing I was going to say? All of that. And I realized, okay, I'm going to be bonkers. I'm going to be completely Looney Tunes if I keep on doing this. And I'm not going to help anybody. Yeah. So, and that's one of the reasons that you ask the question, are you doing therapy? Because, I'm human, I've had issues and things happen in my life. And so I need to have a place where I'm dealing with my own stuff, So, but that's something that I in my professional training, like I've had to do. Like, you cannot, you can't take this stuff home, and so in my training, I've been told, hey, if you're working more than the client, then you're not helping the client.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I had to learn, okay, when the day is over, you leave it right here and you don't take it with you,
Yeah.
But there are things that happen, and I'm human, and and a therapeutic relationship is still a relationship, and so I've had, clients come to me and say that they're terminally ill and they're not going to recover. And I'm affected by that, I mean, that touches my heart, so, I'm still flesh, I'm still a human being. And, and if it touches me to the degree that I actually, express some emotion, then it is what it is. But, again, not to the detriment of the client, but yeah, it's still, a therapeutic relationship is still a relationship. And, so things do affect you, definitely.
Okay. So we have about 5 minutes left. So let everyone know, everyone that is listening now, and that everyone that is viewing, and everyone that is going to be viewing this shortly on YouTube, what can they expect from your shows in the near future?
All right. Well, in the near future, I mean, the main thing that I think this show is about is practical application to your life. You know, that you can live an abundant life. It can be exceedingly abundantly above anything that you could ask or think. And sometimes it's just the idea of tweaking your perception and understanding it might not be as bad as you think it is. But that's the main thing, and that's what is more to come in different ways. I mean, of course, we're going to have different avenues in how we express this material. I want it to be fun. I want it to be lighthearted, and I want people to feel comfortable asking whatever they want to ask, So that's what's to come.
All right. And I just gotta put this up because D-Ray is still up. He's like up here cracking jokes. You see, I'm trying to let him know, that is the only practical way is sugar and butter. Even though I don't do the sugar, there gotta be some sort of sweetener in
Well,
butter.
I can't even speak on it because I don't eat grits. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't eat rice, D-Ray. Well, I eat it, but not putting salt and pepper on my grits. Okay, not happening. Not happening at all. Well, you see, this hour went by pretty fast, didn't it?
It did. I didn't think it would, but it did.
Just comfortable talking, chopping it up, and in the weeks and months to come, it's just gonna get better and easier, and the groups and the comments are gonna get more and more, and you're just gonna be as comfortable being your abundant self.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Living your abundant life on your Abundant Life show, right?
Yes,
cool.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. So for everyone that is out there now, and everyone that will be listening, this is Therapist Tori, and her new show is going to be called Living the Abundant Life. And you can catch her right here on the Blast Media Network every Friday, 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and come in and get your life fulfilled. Got
Yes.
it? Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any closing remarks for your people?
No, I just want to say thank you to Blast. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you to everybody that said hello and took time out of their day to listen in. I truly appreciate it. And I'm so looking forward to this. It's going to be awesome. So that's it.
All right. Till next time, people. For myself, Rock, Blast, and Therapist Vicky, always remember what we say, put it on blast.